do you say to the critics that say OCBJ is too light a touch? We're cheerleaders for business. We never do exposés or seldom do exposés, and that we're not critical enough. And I will point out, we missed the mortgage crisis like everybody else. We were covering some of the biggest mortgage lenders in the country, people who were part of the problem and sank everything. And we celebrated these people. Oh, they're, business person runner-up or that kind of thing. And they sank the economy, basically. And we missed it. A lot of other people did too, but we missed that.
Everyone missed
We missed
it.
the Orange County bankruptcy. We didn't call that either. So how do you respond to critics that say we're just too soft?
Yeah, well, I don't remember all of our coverage during that time to say that. I don't know that we ever commented on people saying that this is going to peak, this can't last, because I remember people saying things like that. But our role in this community is to serve our readers, and we're not we don't have the resources, and it's not our charter to be an investigative publication. Essentially, we're a publication, I say this lovingly and jokingly, for the kids who run Orange County. We're like the high school newspaper for the kids who run Orange County. We're more of a social medium than we are a hard news medium. We chronicle what's going on in Orange County. If you do business in Orange County, it has great utility value. And if you're selling commercial real estate or leasing or doing banking, yes, you understand who are the emerging companies, and it's very useful. But unlike most business journals, we don't limit ourselves to being useful to the local economy. We write about the players, the guys that run the big operating companies.
And gals.
And gals. It used to be generic. I acknowledge.
Well, we're both old school, so I just wanted to
the words aren't used generically anymore.
Right.
But I was using it generically. Yeah, the women and men of Orange County read us so that they can read about people like themselves. You belong to a country club. You know people because your wife, or your husband, or your children are friendly with those families. You serve on a board at Chapman or UC Irvine or the Sacredstrom Center or the South Coast Repertory. You see people that have jobs like yours, that are in the same business as you, and they're your friends, and you golf with them, and you go, wow, there's Bill. I'll bet you that picture's 10 years old. I'm gonna razz him about it. So it's just like in high school where you see your friends and what they're up to. You wanna know what the other kids are up to. We write about people's activities outside of work, beyond work. The people who are the marathoners, the people who fly their own jets. We write about their clubs. We write about their philanthropy. There's no other business publication in the country that is so steeped in philanthropy. In fact, we publish a giving guide, which is a unique publication where you've got, I think there's 70 now, publications are all in front of you with who's on the board and what their mission is and a message from them, so that if you want to get involved in the community, you know who's who. And you know what's when. Because we also publish a separate publication of a calendar of all the major events. So we do a lot of things that sort of make us into a community, the community of business.
So how will you respond to the viewer, the majority of viewers who say, that ain't me. I'm not in that world.
Then we're not for them.
But
they're welcome to read us if they want to see what that world is doing. If they want to be in that world, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, but what if they say, I wonder, and so I ask, given that, should we or do we at all ever provide a voice of conscience and say, hey, all of us here, we're living the good life, we're making tons of money, but you know what? There's a lot of people that aren't, that are, having challenges and problems, and does that intersect at all, or do we just live in a little world of our own, or, is there some grounding in reality that, hey, we're very blessed, and not everybody lives like this?
Oh, I don't presume to have the arrogance of we sit in judgment of other people. There's a lot of publications, daily newspapers, and that's a whole issue we didn't really get into, but daily newspapers have had the mission of being the watchdog of the community. That's what their charter is. That's why they exist. That's not true for the Orange County Business
Journal.
Journal.
Mencken said the job of a newspaper is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable.
And that's
your
an
job is not afflicting.
We don't, as I said, we don't follow the crowd. We don't subscribe to every aphorism, and that's one we don't subscribe to. No, we serve our readers, and our readers get value from it, and that's why we exist. And our readers aren't looking for us to be uncovering scandals and dirt, but yet if a company is doing poorly, like Carl Karcher at that point in time, or an individual is having trouble, like a lot of people had trouble in the early 90s, and we got some pretty ugly letters, some of them from lawyers, saying that if you publish this, this could be very damaging to my client's reputation and we're going to hold you accountable. But we published tough articles that were just the truth of what the facts were of companies who were suffering, but not to embarrass them, but to tell people what's going on.
Yeah.
And then we were really happy in the later 90s to say, back in the saddle, back on top, and that's what we do. We chronicle what's going on, and we're also, again, very importantly, we're kind of the town square where the group of people in Orange County that are the ones who make things happen. That's where they learn about each other, not just in terms of what they're doing, but what their hearts are and who they are.
So, who better to ask about Orange County business? Why? Let's give us some strengths and weaknesses. Take it whatever order you want. Strengths of Orange County business, weaknesses of Orange County business, and the trend. How's it looking going forward?
Well, I remember the early 90s when you and I were launching the publication together, and with the peace dividend, because the defense industry was being downsized since the Cold War at that point had been resolved and we were going to cut our defense budgets. And at that time, that was a very big part of our economy. People who have moved here more recently would have no idea how significant it was then. So at that time, that was, I'm sorry, what was the question?
The business.
The business. At that time, we were actually on the decline. But Orange County now has a very diversified economy. And back in the early 90s, I learned why we're going to be successful. And the reason we're always going to be successful is what makes a community successful in terms of the number one reason is this a place where people who have capital, people who will want to build a business, with people who have talent, is this a place that they would enjoy living and they would want to raise their family there? And between the weather and the ocean and the topography here, and candidly, what great developers did, Donald Bren, the way he designed Orange County, he made it into a very livable place. So that's always going to be the big plus for Orange County, that this is a place that's desirable to live. The big negative for Orange County has been, especially of late, a state government that is antagonistic to business enterprise. They're so concerned about being leaders in things like making sure that the environment for the world is going to be right, that they don't recognize that sometimes when they make decisions that simply take environmentally unsound activities out of Orange County and just right over the border or to another country, they haven't accomplished anything except they took away jobs from the people who could have been working in those jobs in California. Instead, they're going to be done by people who live in another country or another state.
But just to point out the anomalies, I guess, Silicon Valley, Hollywood, they're doing fine. And so, whatever the situation, Orange County doesn't have Silicon Valley. It has a lot of tech companies, doesn't have, the entertainment industry. So, and so I'm saying there's concerns then, I guess, that Orange County isn't well equipped to handle some of these problems you just brought up. And headquarters, we're losing all our headquarters.
We really are.
Yeah, and as it might be a nice place to live, but again, if the CEO isn't living here, that makes a difference.
So we do have some issues. Yeah. So we're always going to be better than the national or the state or the Southern California average for things like unemployment. And we're always going to be above average for like average household income. But we actually are doing less well today on average household income than we used to, because Silicon Valley is doing so great. It has moved up the average for the state, and we haven't participated in that boom the way they have. They have an infrastructure, they have an ecosystem that's so unique, with the capital there, the talent there, and just having everybody else there and the way they can interact with each other. So notwithstanding how difficult a place California is to do business, it thrives. And if it weren't for Silicon Valley, we would have by far the worst poverty, and we would be the state that was in the biggest mess of anyone in the country, but we're fortunate that we have them. And the entertainment industry isn't as significant as that, but here now you have the content meet technology. So Los Angeles is also developing a lot of millennial age people coming in with a lot of talent, getting paid well, and they have that going for them too. Orange County doesn't have either of those two things. We don't have the entertainment industry infrastructure, we don't have the technology infrastructure, nobody else does the way Silicon Valley does. So we're just a wonderful place to live, a great place to the place you want to put your business because you want to live here, and then just do the best you can given all the obstacles. And so we still do well, but we're not doing as well as places that have that kind of infrastructure. And we are not attracting the younger people, the millennial generation, the way that the big cities are. And now, because they're so expensive, and we share that we're also expensive, but we don't share sort of the urban hipness of those places. And so they're now going to places like Salt Lake City and Denver and Austin. And that's one of our biggest challenges. I do see some beginnings of some hipness starting to happen. You've got Costa Mesa, there's some good things going on there. Santa Ana for a long time has had this artistic community, but it doesn't seem
Anaheim has some.
Both of them, but Costa Mesa seems to be having more traction. Emil Haddad in the Great Park communities, he's putting together an infrastructure there with retail and near the train station, where he's going to try to attract those kinds of people to create an environment that would be one that you don't have to own a car. He's actually building homes in the Great Park communities. You don't have to own a car. The Irvine Company has done a lot of things around the spectrum. So we're starting. We're late to the game, and we're behind the 8 ball, but so long as we have the sun and the beaches and the perfect weather, great schools, and a place that has less blight and relatively good transportation, Orange County's got an asset that will serve us well. And once we start to fill in the blanks, we're going to be in good shape.
Okay, Richard, again, outstanding. Thank you both for the show and the open mic, and that's a good optimistic note to end things.
It's my pleasure.
Very good.
My partner and friend.